Well, good morning. My name is Vip Vipperman and excited to be back on the podcast today. Really excited with our guest, Chad Reynolds of Vurvey. Can't wait to talk about the power of AI and what they're seeing, the impact that it's making on the world. Chad, welcome.
Thanks, Vip. Love being here. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, glad to have you with us this morning. Where are you joining us from today?
We're headquartered in Cincinnati, Ohio, which is
Okay.
home of the Reds, the Bengals, Geta. You can look it up to see what it is, and Skyline Chili.
All right. That's awesome. Well, I'm here in sunny Dallas, Texas, where it's pushing 100 degrees outside this week. So I'm excited to be inside in the studio in the
Yeah,
AC, man. Um, but looking forward to talking with you this morning and hearing a little bit more about the Vurvey story. I remember when I started talking to you guys about AI and the first time I heard about a virtual agent and was just like, I it took me a little while to catch on. And just when you guys walk through, it's just amazing to see how much it's grown and how you guys have really just stepped into this space from the technology and the software to a
yeah.
podcast about it. It's powerful. So looking forward to the conversation today.
Me too. Me too.
Well, hey, before we get into it, tell me a little bit of the backstory. How did you become an entrepreneur? Did you grow up in Cincinnati and from that area, and just a little bit of your story?
Yeah, yeah. So my story began. I'll start off with like a story about my mom, which probably a lot of AI entrepreneurs don't. Um,
It's like
so
moms have a lot of great influence.
they do. They do.
Props to the
So
moms this morning.
my mom was in product research at Procter and Gamble. So if you know Cincinnati, you know P&G. It's home to like Crest and Tide and Old Spice and all these different products.
Yeah.
And so she was doing product testing. And so so normally, or I guess you would just take the products home and test them on your family. And so from the time I was like 6 years old, you would go into the shower and you would see shampoo bottle A, shampoo bottle B, and then a notepad on the sink to let her know if you got a rash or not.
This is at your house.
Is that my house? Yeah.
A or B. That's awesome.
So that was literally my childhood, was just, being in a home where you're constantly testing things, like testing products and giving feedback. And it just made me fall in love with the whole process of creating things. And just seeing how invaluable feedback was to make things kind of ready for prime time. And
Okay.
so I went to DAAP, called DAP. It's a design program, and learned more about just like the overall practice of how do you take a product to market, communicate it, design it, all these different things. And then I started a company right out of school, and we would help brands essentially make or go to market with like websites and all different kinds of things. And I did that for 8 years, building the agency essentially from just like me in a room with one of those big, like back in the day, if you remember the Mac, not even MacBooks. This is before laptops.
Oh yeah,
So they
the
had
big
like the big
screen.
monitors
Yeah.
that were just like kind of super deep. I just started off in a room with a computer and my school portfolio, and would go out to businesses to see if they needed a website. And this was back in like 2000,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
25 years ago. But I just like as a human being, I just loved building things and then figuring out how to build the best thing possible. And for me, it was always about the kind of the feedback loops that you would get from people, and that's kind of carried forward into Vurvey's story.
Awesome. Yeah, it's really so. I'm wondering, when you were taught like as a child to test things all the time, if you tested the rules in the house as well. I'm like, if you teach a kid to test, like to push the boundaries, try different things, if you're always pushing against the rules as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, growing up, it was a very independent household. So like both parents worked. So if you wanted to eat, you made it. If you wanted to get
Nice.
somewhere, you figured out how to get there. So yeah, I mean, it was all around, just kind of building some independence of like how do you get things done,
Yeah.
and that
You learn to be scrappy from a young age.
You do. You do. I mean, like my favorite toys back then were, I think still are like Legos, Lincoln Logs, anything you could use to build. I was just kind of fascinated with making things. And then, you would just kind of disappear in a room for, hours on end building things. And, there's a different time with like no screens and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no kidding.
But
So you get to college, you've got this company. So first entrepreneurial experience, you're building an agency, a design agency.
yeah,
And then how do you get from, I'm doing design for other people to I want to build a software that solves a problem? Like
yeah.
what problem did you see in that work that led you guys to build Vurvey?
Yeah, yeah. So, some of the first projects we did, like as a digital agency, were for movies. So, we did a lot of work for Warner Brothers Pictures, and so they would send us a movie script. We worked on like Lady in the Water, The Departed, Harry Potter,
Oh wow.
all a bunch of films, and so they would send you a script and then a few images, and then you would put together what you thought, the story, how the story could come to life online, and how you could bring people into it. And so, so that was kind of like our starting point, was building out, these digital experiences for people. And we started to push that onto the phone as well. So it was very early in mobile and what you could do there. And so I just loved combining, design, storytelling, and technology as a way to communicate and create engagement, around things. And then, strangely enough, like P&G came calling a few years later and said, "Hey, can you apply the same approach to like telling stories online? Could you bring it into brand reinvention and use storytelling as a way to reinvent brands?" And so, essentially taking what we were doing online and now do it offline through how you could create products or reinvent products. And so I think we had like 4 years of just kind of going from almost like brand to brand through P&G's entire portfolio, just looking at what you could reimagine. And this was kind of back when, Old Spice was a grandpa brand.
Okay.
And so you would get projects that were like, what if you owned this? What would you do with it? How would you reinvent it? How do you connect it with teens today, as opposed to kind of the grandpa brand? And so we would get these really interesting problems to solve, and we would.
Please tell me you're the guy that figured out how to put the guy on the white horse in the Old Spice commercials.
No. That was all
Those
like
have been
that was
Ryan's.
Wyden and Kennedy. Yeah, the ad agency. Yeah, they usually get all the credit for all the stuff because we were essentially like the insight team. We would do all the gnarly work to go, talk with teenagers and understand like what was cool at school and how was that shifting, and then and then we would come up with all the insight of like, hey, if you're going to reinvent this brand, here's how you would do it.
Okay. And then somebody else comes along and helps, like,
They create
where
the
do we
ads.
go with it?
Yeah, they
Take
create
all
the
that
ads for it.
information, create the ads for it. I gotcha.
Yeah. So one of the interesting things, so back in the day, and I think some brands still use this today, are brand archetypes. And so back then, Old Spice was the kind of the grandpa sage brand. It was kind of trusted. And so what we found was that essentially within schools, it used to be that the kid that played sports was kind of like the cool kid. And that was shifting away from that and into the funny kid. And so the funny kid was becoming really popular and cool. And so as opposed to Old Spice being a sage, like, well, what if it could be a jester brand? And could that connect to consumers in a better way?
Yeah.
Still being true to who it is, but now they're funny. And so,
Interesting.
yeah, so it was, there's a bunch of insights that put together essentially the scaffolding for reinventing that brand. But that was a fascinating one. And I think, like we've seen it play out now, but back in the day, trying to take that journey to go reinvent the brand with a few insights that were, we thought were really powerful, but
Yeah.
they're usually the undercurrent. They're not the mainstream thing that everybody's doing. So
Well, and it's a super risky thing for a brand, right?
it is.
Like
Yeah.
to reinvent itself and to take that risk of taking the new insights that you guys are seeing and making the changes that may not work. I love listening to a podcast called, one of the ones I've listened to all these years called How I Built This by Guy Raz.
Yeah.
Now I've been listening to a whole lot that's been a lot of fun on Spotify that talks about the best idea yet, and it's amazing when like it seems like a terrible idea until it works, and it's the best idea you've ever heard,
Yeah.
and it's amazing. But somebody's doing the insights and working to figure that stuff out,
Correct.
and getting
Yeah.
those feedback loops to tell if the customers if it's going to work.
Absolutely.
So you
Yeah, I
guys
mean,
have figured that out.
Yeah, I mean, insights is a superpower. So, it's can you take sometimes the same data that other people are looking at, and can you look at it differently? Can you go collect different data that they don't have to create a competitive advantage? And so,
So
I think,
catching us up to now,
Yeah.
how does Vurvey do that?
yeah. So, I went through kind of multiple. I started an agency, sold it. Started another agency, sold it. For the last 20 something years, I had been working, more on the service side of the business, like doing all the insight work. And along the way, I started to find out a lot of different pain points that I had from how we were scaling what we were doing. And then also when you were, doing this work, you were collecting a lot of information and you would need to disappear for 40 hours to analyze it all. And so it took you out of the business room or the boardroom, where a lot of decisions are getting made to go analyze. And even though the work that you were doing was impactful, it was still delivered via PowerPoint slides. And so there were just a lot of things that felt off,
Yeah.
as you were doing that. And so, I decided to start Vurvey Labs 5-6 years ago, as this technology company, an AI company, but we would look at how we can use technology to enhance the human experience. How can we use technology to hear from more people, as opposed to just like the 8 people or 6 people you can get out of a focus group. Instead of doing surveys where it's just information, like just knowledge, or like it's a 5-star rating. It kind of loses the human story in it, and so
And people hate filling them out.
Correct.
Right? Like, it just check the box or give me a 1 to 5 rating.
Yeah, because most of the time you don't know where it's going, so there's no real motivation in it for you of like why are you doing this? Even though like we're all good people and like we want to help others, and so if what you're doing can help others, like that's an incentive. So we just saw a lot of things happening all at the same time and said, what does this look like if we actually embrace technology as a way to enhance humanity, enhance our potential? What does this look like? And so we started building AI models, 5 years ago. And Eagle was very early, as an investor to help get us started. But I would say raising money for an AI company 5-6 years ago was different than it is today. But you guys saw something in what we were doing that it was solving this like core problem, in the world, and we wanted to be a part of solving it. So we started building out these AI models for sense making originally. So if you could take a bunch of videos, a bunch of surveys, a bunch of information, how could you put it into an AI to sense make and turn it into insights and new ideas and things like that? So that was really our starting point. And Vurvey, the name came from video survey, because we would send out video surveys to consumers and be able to interview, thousands of people, in an hour. And it would all be through video. And so we could then have, because we were building these AI models that could analyze all the data and generate insights for us. And so the more people you could add into the funnel, you would get the most insights from, as opposed to the other way of doing it was the more information you get, the more effort you have. This was actually the inverse. It's like the more people we could get in, the faster we could get to insights.
Yeah, I mean, I remember doing probably one of my first ones. And just that, wait a minute, instead of just checking the box or is it 5 stars or 3 stars or whatever, you actually just want me to tell you how I interacted with the product or how much I liked it. I remember seeing y'all do one. There was like the unboxing, of the product. And it was unbelievable to, instead of just like, did you like it? What was the problem? That kind of thing. It became an experience instead of this, thing I had to do because I feel bad to not give them the information.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, it's amazing that now they have this story, how I liked it in an audio visual, like a form, so you can use it on social or that kind of thing. I didn't even realize at the time that you guys were actually getting all these analytics in the background, aside from just the story, and were processing so much information from the data.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's all these layers to story, right? When you talk about something and you have like the video layer, then you can understand emotion. You can understand what it means to somebody and why it matters. And that was what was missing in kind of like in data. And so if we could bring that, more humanity or emotion to what you're talking about, it really could help you make better decisions. And so,
yeah, I mean, at Eagle, we started using it for onboarding. When a company would want to apply, we would actually have them do the Vurvey, the video survey to tell us about their company. So it wasn't just a pitch, like with the PowerPoint. It was them in the video doing the pitch, so you could see everything, and then the video was the system was analyzing it. It was also so easy because we have partners in different parts of the world, and so not everybody had to be on the call at the same time to watch the pitch.
Yep.
We had this video that it was super easy to manage and process.
Yeah.
And especially when you've got 100 companies applying in, it was really easy to manage and see, and the fact that it translated. So, all right, so you guys have a product. People are starting to use it. I mean, big brands adopted it quickly. I was blown away when you're like, hey, we're working with, this brand and this brand and that brand. I was like, oh my word. They went from, 0 to 60 in like 3.2 seconds, right? Like it's Tesla speed. And so talk about the evolution of the product now and where the momentum you see is.
Yeah. So, so we built the platform, launched it to, like I said, like about 60 different companies in the first year. We were trying to find out, like, is there a there? And there was a clear signal that, teams wanted to use this. And so as we started to evolve the product, we were looking at just kind of different ways. Like now we could kind of collect data at scale. Now we could analyze data at scale. But how do we interact with it at scale? And so I just really hated PowerPoint slides. I mean, they're great for, if you have to do a presentation, but like for insights, I always talk about like insights go to PowerPoint to die. And so I'm like, how do you bring these to life? And so what we ended up doing was we created, back then created our first like AI agent. So you can think of that as like a digital person. It's probably like a way to think about it. And then all of the stories, that we collected, we could feed essentially into that agent. And so, we gave the agent a name, they had a life story, they had experience, and then you could use all this as source material so that you can now talk with the data, talk with the stories, and it could riff with you, right? So you could identify insights. If you had ideas, you could test and validate and kind of build off of them. So we started building out this agent platform fairly early.
So is this like it was as if you were asking your customer questions because you had customer feedback in the form of those videos and data? You literally could interact with your customer at any point in time as an AI because they've been trained on all that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So like a brand like Neutrogena, which probably everybody knows. We like in a year we would collect, tens of thousands of, stories about skincare and needs and benefits, they're seeking and all this different kind of stuff. But then you could package it up as a series of different consumer personas, like different agents that had different needs. So there was one around sensitive skin, one around eczema, one around, kind of different things. And so, everybody at the brand, everybody at the company could talk with them in real time. So if you were in science, and you're building out like new ingredients and new formulations, you could actually talk to the consumer at any time on your pocket. And so it just kind of unlocked kind of the next layer of value for us where, you didn't need to package stories or information as dashboards or as PowerPoints. You could package them as agents. And so we started to build out kind of different types of agents. So you had kind of consumer personas, you had insight, like assistants. Ones could analyze data, ones could brainstorm product ideas, and you actually had designer agents that could create packaging designs and different kinds of things. And so kind of the magic started to unlock kind of in that phase when we would create these. And then, as you started to interact with them over time, you're like, well, what if they actually could work together? And so last year we launched Workflows, which allows you to kind of put in a business objective, and then it could auto create agents that can work together. Like it can work with you one-on-one, but they can also work together on their own to push your ideas further. And so, our story was really one of, building some of these foundational models for us, kind of bringing kind of people or humanity into AI. And then from there, as we would collect all these really interesting stories, how can we use agents and workflows as a way to scale potential? And so, our customers have grown considerably. We started off with, kind of like a few different brands, a few different teams, and then now we're, scaling globally. I think we're in like 30 different countries and, like have hundreds of.
Sounds like you're totally feeling a momentum shift in this space.
Oh, absolutely.
AI is popular right now. Like people talk about AI and the impact, but how have you seen it? Sounds like you've seen it grown like tremendously over the last year. As far as like business volume and everything. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I always talk about it's like AI is everywhere, like everything, everywhere, all at once. Like that movie where you're kind of jumping from different spheres, but where it was helpful as a productivity tool, I think in the early days, is now becoming just like reshaping everything we're doing, from like how we're finding information to how we're buying things to how we're working together. So it's really getting into every facet of our life, and it's doing it at a warp speed. And so, from
one of the things I've heard you talk about though is, a lot of people are like, well, AI is going to replace this, it's going to replace that, blah, blah, blah. But one of the things, and even related to you guys have your own podcast, but your passion, it seems like, is not let AI replace everything, but how do we work well with AI to make you even more successful? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So our approach to AI, we call it AI powered by people. So if you go to our site, it kind of speaks a little bit more about what that means. But for us, we want like the human story, like for the stories that are personal to us, to be kind of spoken into AI, like speak into the brain, kind of this AI brain, where lots more people can access it. And so, if we can do that at scale, it really creates AI that's a true reflection of how we feel individually, as opposed to what AI looks like today. It's primarily what's on the internet. There's a lot of the LLMs were trained off of internet data, and so, if I write a blog, I'm writing for an audience, right? So there's a kind of an LLM can tap into that, and so it seems knowledgeable and helpful. But then when you're building out new ideas, you really care about what an individual thinks and how they think about it themselves. And so, we had to rethink how do we want to build an AI company that is fundamentally different than another one. And so that's why we really have focused in on the individual. So if I send you a Vurvey, you respond, you're talking about what something means to you, and like how you feel, as opposed to like a public facing blog or review. And so it's just a different kind of data that that's coming into it. And so we, like, as building this AI powered by people platform, our approach has been to go back to these basics of how do we create knowledge, how do we share knowledge, and try to enable a way for you to collaborate with the world. And like, what does that look like? And so our platform allows you to upload kind of what you already know, collect new data, build out as many agents as you want to, work with them one-on-one, work with them more like kind of agent operated, where they can do things for you. But it's really freed up the time that people have. And so while there's a lot of stories out there of AI taking people's jobs and absolutely, it's going to take people's tasks, some of the tasks that they were doing, but it's also unlocking space for you to be more strategic in what you're doing and why you're doing it. So that we've seen that happen time and time again with companies and brands that are investing in AI tools for people, is that it's actually valuing your time and your headspace to be strategic and be creative, as opposed to just kind of like fighting through your day, just checking off things. And I think there is a lot more meaning in that kind of work. We just haven't reached it yet on a mass scale. It's just really early, so it's just kind of like the churn, if you know what I mean, where it's a lot of activity and people are trying to make sense of it still. But for me, I'm just seeing this play out in a really beautiful way of creating opportunities for many more people, but also giving us headspace to connect the dots. I think that's a really important theme that we're seeing right now.
That's really cool. One of the things I want to ask you about too, a lot of times, at Eagle, we're really passionate about impact, like the social impact that a thing is having. In your case, you're talking about helping people save time, helping people be more efficient, helping people understand their customer better so that they can serve their customers and their clients better, right? And just that sort of thing. But I also thought, like, in y'all's work, it's really about understanding the customer, the client,
Yeah.
really, really well,
Yeah.
and then serving them better, in a sense, providing them the product that they're really looking for. Do you guys have nonprofits that are also using this product that are trying to say, like, hey, we're serving a population of people that's struggling with something,
Yeah.
and we want to understand them better so that we can serve them better? I can just imagine in so many different places where this can be useful in that kind of scenario as well. Do you
Yeah.
have any use cases there that you could speak to?
Yeah, we've definitely been working with some nonprofits. I think if this is like a call to to open it up for more, I mean, I would do it. Like it's primarily been for-profit businesses who have really I don't know, leaned into everything that's happening in this space. And I think there's a huge opportunity for more nonprofits to be in and doing this, because you obviously have a lot of interesting data to share with the world, a lot of interesting insights into kind of the problems that are happening and potential solutions. So I don't have anything off the top of my head on the nonprofit side.
No, no worries. Well, I was just interested. I would just keep on listening, going, man, I mean, at the end of the day, your product helps the person understand their customer so much better.
100%.
And I'm like, it's unreal where in those kind of worlds, or in the high social impact companies that
Yeah.
we often work with, understanding the needs of the person that you're serving, I can just imagine is hugely impactful. So what do you think? I mean, people talk about where AI is going, where this kind of space, what's going on right now. What does the future look like in in a perfect world? how do humans and AI
Yeah.
continue to work together to be more effective and grow stronger.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can look at AI as kind of like electricity, like it's embedded into everything, everything that there is. And so, I think the spaces that we're working on are, just looking at like the things around us, from products to spaces to, other people to environments to documents, like all different kinds of things can now have AI as a part of them. So you can talk with your world and experience your world in a different way, as weird as that might sound. I think we have we have an experience of our own that we have where we go through it. We meet people. We have stories to tell. We have impact that we can have. And in the current ways of working, there are lots of blockers with like time and just physical time meeting people, and like how do I tap into like Vip's brain and like all these amazing stories that he has and experience, but Vip's not available all the time. And so can I work with his agent? Can I work, how do we scale like our potential? And so I think the ways that we're seeing things play out are, you're obviously seeing them kind of in the consumer space with like a Chat GPT, and, it's changing search and changing shopping and changing all these different things. And you see it kind of playing out in the enterprise of like how companies are working, and that's where we play, is within that space. So I just think you're going to see more use cases of how AI can apply and give us back, not all our time, but also create opportunities where we can collaborate with the world. And I'm ready for that. That's what we're building for, is that space where at any moment in time you can just collaborate on something halfway around the world.
Dude, I love it. Yeah, it's exciting. Building, like, helping people engage better and more effectively. And I think somebody I was talking to the other day was even talking about, an AI agent like that's based on themselves, so that they can help themselves see their own blind spots.
Yeah.
A lot of times we don't see our own blind spots, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Like, because sometimes you challenge yourself on different things, but to get AI to even help you with, not seeing the things that, or seeing the things that you're missing.
Yeah.
Well, talk to us, for the listener out there who's interested in, getting more involved in this space, diving in, and using something like Vurvey. What's the next steps for them? Like,
Yeah.
how do they plug in?
Yeah. So if you're interested in using Vurvey for your company, I would go to vurvey.com, sign up for demo. We can walk you through the platform and use cases. If you want to use it just like in your personal life, we created an app called Verbs, VURBS. And a verb is essentially like an agent you can create, on your own in your likeness, or to like help you throughout the day. So Verbs is in the Apple and Android app stores.
Oh, nice.
So you can download it for your phone, sign up for free, and we generated hundreds of thousands of different agents.
Oh, wow.
You can kind of search through different industries or different interests. So if you're into mountain climbing or grilling or bedtime story agents, those are all available in there for free, so you can play around with them.
Interesting. That's awesome. So are you guys, and obviously you guys are like B2B focused as far as like Vurvey itself.
Yeah.
But in this B2C kind of testing, how's that going? Are y'all seeing a lot of like exciting response? Tens of thousands of users?
Yeah. It's been great because we, like you said, all of our stuff is primarily with these large companies, so like a Honda Motorcycles and Adidas and Unilever and like a bunch of different brands. And so we just wanted to create something for the world that kind of help them understand AI and how they might use it in their personal lives. So we've seen we launched it at South by Southwest this past year. not really having any expectations other than let's just create it, put it out there, and see what happens. And it's been consistently growing month over month with zero marketing. And I use it every night to generate bedtime stories for my kids. I created one called Flora. She helps my wife through like kind of planting based off the Cincinnati region and all kinds of stuff.
Nice.
But it's kind of funny is like you just through your daily life you find all these different kind of pain points.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, I wish I could just like have a gardener who knew our region and I'm like, oh yeah, I can go build that. So you build it in the app. 20 seconds later, you now have an agent. I shared it with her, and now she has that as a resource, right? So it's just kind of like all these different things you can now kind of create around you to help support you in like what you're going to do. Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal.
That's awesome. Well, excited to hear about your growth. Congratulations on the continual impact and just seeing this thing build. I mean, from conversations, it sounds like you guys are doubling, year over year, which is incredible. Which just again shows how much people want this type of a product
Yeah.
and the things that you guys are providing. So excited to see the future of AI and Vurvey and how you guys are leading the way.
Thanks, Vip. Thanks for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for jumping in. Have